Replay. Okay.
That's a great line.
We live?
Yeah. Put it in the play.
We're going live. And we're live with Connie Pepfinger on Determined Women on New York Television.
Hello, welcome to Determined Women, our Airplay monthly feature. We feature very distinguished women in the theater that have had incredible lives, and you get to come with me backstage and meet them and have a great time. We have a wonderful person on the show, and I'm going to let our dear co-host, Carrie Wesolowski. Carrie, what's going on with you these days? Carrie, can you hear me? Carrie?
Oh, well, I think you know something about this. It's a script that, huh? Yes, I can. Yeah, hi. A script that you wrote, Simon Says. It's actually in Manhattan Rep Stories Film Festival, streaming worldwide the entire month of February. They can't hear me.
Can you? No, I can hear you. It's really
I can hear you.
difficulties. So maybe we'll skip Mary's bio, Mary Tierney.
Good.
Because it's Carrie's cracking. So thank you, Carrie.
Thanks, Carrie.
Carrie, thank you so much. Mary's bio is online. Can you? Okay, great. All right. So sometimes we have technical difficulties. That happens, right?
Fun.
Mary Tierney is a dear friend of mine. She has been an actress, phenomenal actress. She's one of those actresses, when you go to see her in a show, you can't keep your eyes off her. You think, what's this? I'm serious, Mary. People have told me this.
Oh, God.
Even met you, because it's just like you're so there. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful feeling to sense that you break the fourth wall, you connect with the audience, and it's very magical. So,
well, you know that saying about the other, there is no other.
Exactly. Mary Tierney is also one of those people. She's our guest today on Determined Women. She's an actress, she's a director, and she is a phenomenal human being who has electricity in her. I mean, when I see her, when I first met her, she would give me a glance, and that little glint in her eye told me magic about to happen. So Mary, tell us how—
You're a playwright. Firstly, I'm going to tell about a technical difficulty.
Okay.
One of the best theatrical experiences I ever had, and it's come up about 2 or 3 times this week, ironically enough. I directed William Hickey in Samuel Beckett's Craps Last Tape. If you know the play, it's a man and his tape recorder. Okay. Opening day, it was lunchtime theater, but the whole theater was jam-packed because Billy had great following. And so we used to rehearse in the middle of the night because I had to work till 10 or 11 at night. And Billy is the kind that will rehearse in the middle of the night. It was great. In fact, that's when Craps Last Tape should actually be performed. But anyway, we did it at lunch. So we get to about 7th page. The tape recorder broke.
Oh, geez.
So, yeah, exactly. So I said, that's okay. I yelled it. We have a backup. George, put the backup tape recorder and we'll start all over. So we get to the very same spot. The tape broke on the backup tape recorder. So I immediately said, Samuel Beckett, you are here. Yeah. So then I said, go on, Billy, because I didn't want an actor of that caliber and that play to stop. No matter what, you have to keep going on. So he said, no, come down here. Let's do it the way we did it in rehearsal. You sit next to me. I said, nope, you go on. Just read from the script then. So he finally did it. And I had this dream once that I was doing a long monologue, and one by one, the audience walked out. A lot of actors have that dream. Well, this afternoon, one by one, the audience started to walk out. And Billy's a trooper. He just kept on going. And there was a group that remained till the end. And they stood up and cheered, because that was a technical glitch that made that experience tremendous.
Absolutely.
And then the next day, I didn't know what was going to happen. No problem. No problem. Same machines. So that's about technical glitches. They're fun.
That's probably the ghost of Beckett for sure, because he's
Oh, I knew it was.
it, And for those that don't know the play, it's about
Well, he was still alive, actually. It was 82. And one of his friends came to see it, and they said, oh, we're going to go and tell him he would have liked this.
exactly.
Oh, it was wonderful.
Wish you would have been there. But tell me about you. Let's talk about
That was about me. When you direct and write plays. Yeah. But it was also about technical glitches. And tell you about me. Here I am with Connie, who has written the best play for an older actress, for two of us, which we are going to take on any road that'll have us. And we have a long COVID rehearsal, which is kind of miraculous. I started a friendship with someone who may be watching this right now. And I haven't met this person, but we've had, it's like creating a play. We've created this wonderful friendship. So that's how we're rehearsing My Dinner with Mary. We did it on one of the Thursday night Zoom readings from the Players Club. And apparently we got 1,400 people, which is the most they had gotten for an audience, just starting out the Zoom readings, Theater for the New City. And so then Connie found a wonderful, as always, wonderful group of people. And we're all working on it now. And every Saturday for a couple of hours, we're rehearsing it and taking it apart, paragraph by paragraph, mood by mood, and the director, Dan is so wonderful. Connie brought him in, and Byron, who's been there from the beginning, he's more wonderful than he was before when we worked with him. So I don't want this to end, and neither does Mary Ellen Ashley, and I don't think it will end.
No,
I was reading about Meryl Streep the other day, and she said, well, she's really happy that now she's gotten to the point where she can play the roles that are really good. And she'll be playing Your Dinner with Mary, I'm sure. That's why I don't want them to read it. So that's what I'm doing literally now.
You and Mary, we should tell them a little bit about how that play got started. We were just joking around, and we were at Italy having lunch. We used to have lunches when we could have lunches in groups.
Yeah.
New to the city, anybody that was estranged or trying to connect back into theater, people that, traveling visitors. And so we would bring them together with me, Mary Ellen, and whoever else would have us. And we would have a little bit of a raucous and have wine early in the morning. And maybe
think for yourself. I'm like the character in the play.
Exactly. But so I just off the cuff.
At the Players Club, we would have these lunches, as I remember, some of them. I would meet you for breakfast, but I don't remember you having wine at 8 a.m.
Oh, no, just kidding. But no, that was a lunch though. And
no, I'm teasing. Of course it was.
I remember saying, oh, well, I'm going to write a play about you two, My Dinner with Mary. And the next day I had 36 pages. It just came.
See, that's how it comes.
I brought
Samuel Beckett's ghost is talking to you.
What's that?
Samuel Beckett's ghost is talking to you.
Probably.
Because I believe his plays are funny. And this is funny. Your play is very funny.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
In that ironic sense.
Just started and it wouldn't stop. We did it at Theater for the New City, and you're it was just phenomenal. And then people were like,
And it was chosen for the Dream Up Festival. And unfortunately, we don't know when that will be.
oh.
It would have been last August.
But okay, so let's get back to you, Mary. Let's
Okay.
how did you get started in this biz? When did
Well, I wouldn't say I'm in the biz because I'm not in the biz, that's all. And maybe that will come about, but I think it's a kind of, you want to be able to do what you want to do. And I had this belief, always wanted to be an actor, grammar school. In fact, the woman that came and took care of us when we were little told me years later, oh, Mary, you had a TV, and when you were 2, you said, I'm going to be on that one day. So I was thrilled that at age 2, I knew what I was going to do. And so then, grammar school, then high school plays. And then I went to a college, which I thought had a good drama department and everything. And then this friend of mine was transferring to NYU. Of course, I went to the first Catholic college for women in the United States. And I said, they still have the same rules as when they were founded in 18 something. And so she said one day, will you see if they got my transcripts at NYU? So I called for her. And then I said, oh, do you have a drama department? And they said, yeah. Oh, in fact, we have a new drama school starting up next fall. I said, oh, could you put me through to them? So I get on the phone with Ted Hoffman, Lord have mercy on him. He started the school. And so I said, can you tell me about this school? He said, well, what do you want to know? I said, well, I want to audition. He laughed. He said, we've had auditions all over the country. We put ads in newspapers in every state, and we have chosen our 90 people or whatever, a very small number in all the fields. I said, well, that's not fair. He said, what? I said, that's not fair. I didn't know about it. And so he said, okay. And I said, so I would like to come up and audition. So he said, all right, come, whatever, next Saturday. And he didn't tell me 2 years later, the only reason, he said, I just wanted to see in person what this kind of a person was who was telling me what I had to do. And so I was just telling my friend that I haven't met yet about what happened in that audition. I picked Chekhov and Pirandello. I mean, who wouldn't? And in the middle of it, I had this out-of-body experience. My body went up to the ceiling in the corner of the room, a tiny little room, Washington Square Mews, those beautiful houses. And I saw my hands. I saw the words coming out of my mouth. I couldn't do anything, just watch it. I thought, wow, that's very strange. And
you kept
what?
You didn't lose a beat in the monologue?
No, not a second. But I wasn't doing it, so what can I tell you? So then at the end of the audition, I thought, oh, I poured my heart out here. And he said, very casually, he said, well, what do you want to kill yourself for this for? And I thought, you son of a, I said, I'm not going to show him that I feel anything or care, I said, what's the difference? You might as well do it for something. So, because I just didn't want to show how I felt.
Yeah.
But anyway, they wrote and accepted me. And when they did, I was about to go off to study in Italy. I called them up. I said, I'm sorry, you made a mistake. No, we didn't make a mistake. But you have to send in your application. I thought all they want at that time was only $15 or $10 to apply to college. I said, that's all they want. So I never sent it in, but they wrote me and said I was in that class. And that was the most wonderful thing in 1966. Now it's the Tisch School of the Arts. Very, very different. It was so intense. And we had a group of 7. And I had a great, great teacher, Lloyd Richards. Love him so much. I was so lucky to have him for a teacher. You just start at the top. And then every 6 weeks, they switched us around. And I quit the school when they tried to give me another teacher. I won't mention his name. He's still alive. Twice. I said, I went to the what are you doing this for? You said every 6 weeks we have to have a new teacher because that's what it's going to be like in the theater. Well, he asked for you. I said, well, I don't want to be there. If anybody I can repeat, it'll be Lloyd Richards. And that's, if I can't, I quit. Something like that, very heady. So I did leave there and I was very, very upset. I didn't really leave because of that. That was part of it. I just felt guilty that, I was leaving college, going to drama school, and my parents would be so disappointed. And my older brothers were in medicine and law. And, what am I doing? And my two sisters were going to nursing school. And I basically really felt guilty. So I rushed and took all these extra courses to graduate with a straight, because all they were giving was a BFA with a straight BA. And then, ironically enough, I said to Ted Hoffman, I got accepted in this summer theater, but I have to be enrolled in graduate school. I said, well, can you get me in? And he said, sure, I'll do that for you. So I got into graduate school, and then the program, they didn't get the money, so they didn't do it. So I went on and got an MA, but I probably shouldn't say this. It may take away from me from NYU, but that's how it was supposed to be. So education is good to have. You don't really need it if you want to be an actor, because you're always educating yourself, always.
Absolutely. Mary, the one thing I love about you is ask and you shall receive. And you taught me that in New York City. Just
Good.
do it. Ask. Do it. Let's do it.
Exactly. That's the whole thing. Let's do it. And I
big.
never, pardon? I never knew I had that attitude. I mean, because I just did it. And I remember when the best part of my young theatrical experience, this Irish restaurant owner built me a little theater above his restaurant. And I got Barbara Loden to come in and redirect the play I did, because we were in an acting class together of Paul Mann's. That's another little story. But so she, after I asked her about 13 times, she decided to redirect this play we had done at the Irish Arts Center. And then we opened up this theater, the BillyMunk, on 45th and 2nd, because in 75, the little old Irish ladies were not going to Hell's Kitchen to see a play, no matter, even a matinee. It was pretty dangerous. I didn't notice it, but it was apparently a pretty dangerous place. So I wanted to move it to the East Side. And that was a short-lived, because he was a thick Irishman and wanted to have all Broadway people there. And I said, Moss, what do you want to have Broadway compete with Broadway in your own theater? We have this so we can do what we want to do. And that's in answer to your question about the business. It's never been about the business. It's just doing it, like do a play. And then the thing that she said, sort of like what you said, do it. She said, oh, well, if you went up to Mary on opening night and said, Mary, there's a big hole in the middle of the stage, she would just say, oh, that's fine, we'll act around it. And then I laughed and I thought, I'd love to think of myself like that, but I know that's how it is. Like the technical thing turns into a wonderful experience.
It does, and you have to. It's just kind of like the yogi's motto, to detach. And when you detach from what's happening, you get to be, tell us about your exotic adventures abroad. We know you went.
Oh, there was a period in my life. There were two periods in my life away from the theater. My heart was never away from it. One was when I worked for Ed Koch at City Hall, because he was like a living theater. He was a very, very dramatic kind of guy. And I worked on the campaign, and I told him, I said, this, because he was last in a race of 7 and he had very little money. They were raising money, one little car, beat up rental car. And I would drive him around all day. And I would say, that was my first experience with campaigns or anything like that. I said, this is just like putting on a play, because he was revving up to the primary and to get the money and get the audience. So he used to go to all these political places and give a little speech. And he said, Mary says this is just like putting on a play. That's all we're doing here. So, it was, and I also felt, it was my mother who said I should come home from England and work for Ed Koch. And I told her she was nuts. And she said, no, I think he's going to win. I think you have to be there. I said, no, that's my brother's world. But anyway, my brother used to come to all my plays, and he got involved in, legal aspects of politically. So he worked for you, Carrie, who did not endorse Mayor Koch. So I said, okay, to thank my brother, Bob, I will go and work on the campaign. And then I had to translate it so it could justify my theater experience. I said, where else am I going to get a visceral knowledge of the Greek tragedies of Shakespeare? And believe you me, you sit in City Hall for 10 years I could do any Greek play. And then it was a period, very, very sadly, when Donny Manis, the borough president of Queens, killed himself because of like $100,000 scandal. And oh, it's really, but you saw it all, and the hubris. And it's funny if you're not involved. Like I was like you actually use that word, detached.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it wasn't my life. I was kind of watching it, in it, as Thomas Aquinas, be in it, but not of it. I'm in the world, but I'm not of the world.
Absolutely.
That was him. Yeah, that. So, and then the second time, I got married to a man from Ireland who used to be a theater critic. I think that's why I married him, for the Irish press in London. And I took a leave of absence to do Britain Salutes New York Arts Festival, the first international festival of the arts. And I was the head of the contemporary arts program. And I got to go over to England and pick out plays. I picked out a lot of Irish plays to bring over. That might have annoyed English, but I did. And apparently, before I even met my husband, he had come to those plays. One he went to 3 times, the play I directed called Friends of James Joyce. I should do it again. It was a lunchtime play. 2 guys waiting for James Joyce, and he never shows up. And one's an intellectual and the other is a laborer, and they have a conversation. That's the whole play. It was wonderful. So then I met him, and within a year we got married. And I guess it has to be somebody who really loves the theater if they're ever gonna hang around me. Mm-hmm. And so that was fine for about 5 years. And then he always wanted, when his son was old enough, he always wanted to go on UN missions. So he got to go to, started doing election work, started in Namibia. And so after a period, I would go over, I would go and come back and forth, keep the rent stabilized apartment. And they were all hazardous missions. So the UN did not accept to pay anything or any insurance or any liability for a family member until the very last mission, where he was in Cyprus, his kind of thank you. So it was Namibia, South Africa during the elections for the 2 years preceding setting up the elections. That was the most exhilarating and frightening time, because apartheid was basically still in effect, but they were invited the UN in to have the elections. So I got to see a lot of that country before, in the middle, and then I was blessed to be there the day Nelson Mandela was elected. There was a peace over that country. It was, I'll never forget it. And people lined up. There was a picture on Time magazine of the lines, the cover of Time magazine, of lines that went for miles for their first vote. It was pretty incredible. Then he was, sorry.
That's another thing about you. You are not afraid to put real life in the theater and put theater in real life. And what I mean by that is, especially right now with political upheavals and everything. And if you could tell us, we're almost about 5 minutes left. I'd like you to tell us about Theater for New City. Your class. Oh,
I love that.
How it is like right in the middle of everything.
It is.
And to rest. And it's for the people, by the people. It's just a wonderful place. So
thank you. And how I got there was, I didn't know Barbara Loden, when we had our theater together, was dying of cancer. Oh. She didn't tell me. She told me she had a wig and, and that she was seeing doctors, but she didn't turn around and say. And I was living at their home, which was a wonderful experience to live in with Barbara Loden and her husband, Ilya Kazan, and have him come to the opening night of our theater and everything. And it was just a wonderful experience. And so she said, and I think she was planning for the future for me, because she wasn't going to be there. She said, I want to take you down to meet some people that do what you do. I thought, well, this should be interesting. I'd like to see who does what I do. And this was Crystal Field and her then husband, George Bartenyev. And they were working out of Westbeth. I literally remember them on the back of a truck, like the old Judy Garland, Mickey Rooney movies, where they set up a stage and did something. And so I met Crystal, and that was about 76. And then I went off to London and came back, and I worked on the Ed Koch campaign. And so I couldn't do, I couldn't really do plays because it was pretty intense when I was directly involved with Ed Koch. But I could help theaters in any way I could. There was a very, very terrible real estate crisis at that time. So I started this project, Real Estate in the Performing Arts. That was actually when I had moved to, after the Britain Salutes New York, I moved to the Department of Cultural Affairs for a while. And I created this program there. So I got to go around to all the buildings, a lot of hat factories and everything. All the manufacturing in New York was dying. And the buildings they had to give to the city because they couldn't pay the taxes. It was kind of like now during COVID, everything was going down. So I put theaters into these buildings. I remember the day I took Tom Noonan to East 4th Street to where now is his Paradise Theater. And the guy was practically crying because it was his hat factory.
Yep.
So then 20 years later, those groups that I put in there got to buy their buildings when Michael Bloomberg became mayor. Those that could show, since they'd had these buildings with the help of the city for like $1 a year, if they could show they could maintain economic and support their theater, and they could have it. So most of them got to own their building. But Crystal and Theater for the New City was not a part of that. But during that period, they had a theater on 2nd Avenue and 12th Street where they did Sam Shepard's Buried Child. Tom Noonan was in it, and it won the Pulitzer Prize. And then they lost the theater. It basically was in the basement of a pizza parlor. It was so I found a place. Department of Sanitation had a huge marketplace from 1901. And it was huge. It's the place we are now. And I worked with Department of Economic Development and whoever I could, and said, could we put this theater there and share it with the Department of Sanitation? So that worked out. And there's a picture, we're going to do it now for the 50th anniversary, picture of Ed Koch and Bess Myerson pushing the piano from 2nd Avenue to 1st. Yeah, it's lovely. And so they got to rent the building from the sanitation department, and we have a 4th theater complex there, a very small cabaret theater downstairs, and then a community theater, and then a big theater that it's called the Johnson Theater because the Johnson Foundation gives them a lot of money. And the Irish Rep lost their space for a while. They're building a play. They came and did Grandfather of Kings, and Hal Prince directed it, and he kind of built that Johnson Theater and gave it to Theater for the New City. So it's a really nice big space. Looks like the Riverside in London, if you know that theater, where they do a lot of Samuel Beckett. And then the Chino Theater, named after Joe Chino, for the kind of work that Crystal does. And then maybe about 10 years ago, we paid off the mortgage, and the last $20,000 came from Michael Bloomberg's philanthropy. Just that last day, I wrote to them and I said, we've paid like $750,000 of $770,000 mortgage. So he gave the last 20,000 so we could own it outright, which we do. And I think the sanitation department pays us a little rent to keep what little section they have, a subsection there. But it has turned out to be, so that was like in the early 80s. Yeah, it's been just a wonderful, wonderful place to be. And then I was still working, going back and forth to different countries. So I didn't really do anything there full time until after the years 2000. My husband divorced me because he did not want to come back to New York, wanted to stay in Cyprus with his young girlfriend. And I thought, oh my goodness. And I remember going to the theater to do something and I was so upset. I'm at the typewriter and Crystal just comes over. You just do that, Mary. She was still wonderful. You just do that. I didn't know what I was doing.
You
She was
gotta
great. She was great. She's wonderful, wonderful.
do and do it. That's what I said.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
Yep.
This
Excellent.
was typing a letter, however. But what's the difference?
Let me say one more time.
Yeah.
Legendary Mary Tierney, who is the patron saint of people in New York City that feel like they're lost. Because
Yeah, I hope so.
theater
I love the Lost.
community, but sometimes
I'm lost.
very big. And you're just everybody's friend, everybody's
That's fine.
heart. And that's what everybody says. Mary Tierney, she's a sweetheart. And you are. You're
They
absolutely
don't really know me. That's nice. I'm an actress. That's why.
determined women. And I will see you soon in rehearsals. Thank
You'll
you.
see what?
I'll see you soon in rehearsals.
Yeah. Oh, this is it?
Yep.
Holy mackerel. This
When-
went by like lightning.
It went fast.
Connie, thank
Wonderful
you so much.
talking to you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
A great interviewer, Connie. You get people to talk with ease that are self-conscious. Thank you.